Well, you can just imagine if you've spent your life working on something and you find out that the fans love what you have done and can't wait to meet you at a convention to tell you how pleased they are with everything you've done and to thank you for what you've written and done for them creatively. It's an experience I can't even describe how wonderful that feels and how grateful that makes me feel. You know, I guess one person can make a difference. Enough said.
Last week, during a press conference, Disney CEO Bob Iger finally gave some more insight into their upcoming streaming service, which we now know to be called Disney+. They revealed a couple of interesting things, too. Rogue One character Cassian Andor is set to get his own series on the service, but by far the most exciting thing was the confirmation that the God of Mischief himself is indeed getting his own series, with Tom Hiddleston set to reprise the role. No real plot or release details were given, but this likely confirms that the Scarlet Witch and Winter Soldier Falcon series are real as well. But today we're going to be talking about Loki. I'll make videos on the others when they come. I'm going to go over what I think Disney Plus could do to make the Loki series truly entertaining, including who should be making it and what the story could be, etc. First of all, release. Like I said, they never gave any real indications of when this is coming, but I imagine it'll be sooner than we think. For all we know, the series has been in the works for months and is set to start filming in January. Who knows, but for sure, I personally expect this to hit at some point in 2020, as 2019 just seems a bit too fast for all of the effects work that will inevitably need to be done. And now we insert my obligatory "they shouldn't revive Loki because it would undo his arc and cheapen both Thor and Thanos by extension" here. Personally, I think the best place to put Loki in the spotlight is in the past. When I think solo Loki, I want the God of Mischief in his prime, full-on trickster. Not necessarily evil, but still manipulating and plotting his way around. That's what I want. I just want Loki having the time of his life. So with that said, I think there are two ideal places to set the series. In between Thor the Dark World and Ragnarok, or right in the midst of Ragnarok. We see Loki get thrown out of the Bifrost early by Hela, and then we next see him on Sakaar, having been there about a week and in that time earned everyone's trust, including the ruler, the Grandmaster. Both of these ideas present their own pros and cons. With Ragnarok, the pros are that we'd get to interact with the Grandmaster, Topaz, Korg, and Valkyrie even more. Maybe we'd even meet Doug. There's certainly a lot of potential for comedy and fun with this idea, but it's also a bit limiting. Everything there has to line up exactly as it does in Ragnarok, and there's not a lot of time to play around with. And also, I think it would kind of kill the overall joke. To me, it's funnier that we didn't see how Loki did it. The joke is that he somehow won everyone over while Thor's constantly being tasered and belittled. So breaking down exactly how he got to that point would kind of ruin the humor there for me. However, let's think about the time in between the Dark World and Ragnarok. It's not 1 week, it's about 2 years or so. 2 years where Loki is disguised as Odin and ruling Asgard, deceiving the public. That's a lot of room to play in, and presents the opportunity to fix some things that felt off with Ragnarok, the Asgardians themselves. The Warriors 3 were all quickly killed by Hela, with barely any dialogue at all, and Sif is just nowhere to be seen. She's just gone, not even mentioned. So let's say this is set not long after Thor leaves to return to Earth, following Loki working to trick everyone into thinking he's Odin. This would require Anthony Hopkins to return to the role, which I'm not sure if he'd be willing to do that, but maybe he would if it means he gets to act like Loki acting like Odin. This also gives the opportunity to flesh out all of Thor's supporting cast: Heimdall, Sif, Fandral, Volstagg, and Hogun. They could finally explain where Sif is. Maybe she found out Loki's tricks and so he banished her to some distant planet. And this would give the opportunity to introduce some more Thor characters. The Enchantress would be a really fun addition. This is probably the best place for her to be at this point. Maybe she's a trickster like Loki and a childhood friend of his who returns and immediately sees through his deception. We could also see Scourge return and maybe even introduce his relationship with the Enchantress. Another cool character would be Balder. It'd be a little weird to suddenly reveal that Thor has another brother, so maybe they could alter it a smidge so that he's just a high-ranking warrior on Asgard or something. I mentioned this in a previous video, but I'd also love to see the Hellhound, Thori, here as well. Although it might make some plot holes if Thori's here but not there when Ragnarok comes around. Overall, I think it would be a really fun series to be set in that time and would open the door to help flesh out Asgard in Thor's absence. They could actually give the Warriors 3 a proper send-off. Remind us that they used to be fleshed out characters in their own right. Remember when they played a pretty huge role in the first Thor? Now comes the question of who exactly is going to make this series. It's difficult to say really, the possibilities are limitless. Disney Plus, being Disney, has managed to attract some pretty hugely impressive talent to their various TV shows and movies. Willem Dafoe, Tessa Thompson, Bryce Dallas Howard, Taika Waititi, Diego Luna, Jon Favreau, and of course Tom Hiddleston himself. So really they could get anyone who would be interested. The first one to come to mind obviously is Taika Waititi, but I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'd definitely love to see Waititi return to the MCU, but I'd want it to be with Thor or Valkyrie. He's always been pretty open about how he's bored by Asgard, which is why he wiped it out like he did. Personally, I'd like to see the Asgardians get a proper send-off. Now, if this series is set on Sakaar during that week, then absolutely Waititi should return. No one could write Korg or the Grandmaster like he could. But one I've been thinking a lot about is Alan Taylor, the director of Thor: The Dark World. Is that movie widely considered one of Marvel's worst? Sure. But you know who was the best part of that film? Loki. Loki was awesome in that movie, and considering the whole Loki takes over Asgard scenario was set up in that movie, it makes sense for him to continue it here, or at least direct an episode of it. My third option is another MCU vet, this time Joss Whedon. He didn't have a great experience with Age of Ultron, so he may not be interested in ever working with Marvel again, but he did a splendid job writing Loki and the Avengers, and his style of humor would really add a lot to the series. This time he wouldn't have to juggle all of the expectations. He could just make a fun little miniseries. It's back to his roots, really. I don't know, we'll see what happens here. A Loki series is one of those things that I never in a million years would have thought of, but I'm interested in seeing. I think it'll be a fun show, but it's the implications of it that excite me the most. The fact that a character as big and expensive as Loki can get his own miniseries is really awesome, and makes me excited for the possibilities moving forward. Not just Scarlet Witch, Vision, Falcon, and Winter Soldier. What about Valkyrie and Shuri? The Hulk can't get his own movie, but could he get a series? How about Yondu and the Ravagers? Does it have to be established characters, or could we get new ones like Moon Knight, or Blade, or Namor? Maybe this could be where Robbie Reyes finally gets his due. The possibilities are endless, so this really opens a lot of doors for the MCU, and I'm excited to see what happens next. I used to be a little bit worried about where the MCU could go after Avengers 4, when a lot of its biggest characters are gone, but I'm not anymore. Between this, the X-Men and Fantastic Four on the way, and the success of characters like Black Panther, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man, I'm not worried, I'm excited. It looks like the MCU has a very bright future ahead. But what do you guys think? What would you like to see in the Loki series? Do you think it will be set on Sakaar, Asgard, or even further back before the first Thor? Let me know all of your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.
Imagine me and you, I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the girl you love and hold her tight. So happy together.